Our beautiful planet. There is no shortage of resources here. The amount of food produced globally is more than enough to feed all 8 billion people on Earth. Yet, the reality of the situation is so horrifying that it will shake your conscience to your core. In today's modern, tech-driven world, 733 million people, that is 1 in every 11 individuals, go to bed hungry every single night. According to a 2025 global report, nearly 266 million people across 47 countries are standing on the absolute brink of severe food insecurity. Did you know that every year, starvation and malnutrition-related diseases claim the lives of 9 million people worldwide? The greatest tragedy here is our children. Globally, 35.5 million children suffer from severe malnutrition, with nearly 10 million facing acute, life-threatening stages of the condition. Every 15 seconds, a child dies from starvation. Their immune systems become so severely compromised by the lack of nutrients that even a mild cold or fever can take their lives. Yet, less than 1 in 5 of these severely malnourished children receives the necessary nutritional treatment. On one side, extreme starvation. On the other, the frenzied flexing of military might. Today, the security doctrines of nations are confined solely to the destructive capacity of their arsenals. Trampling on the fundamental human right to survive, world leaders have engaged in a catastrophic game. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, or SIPRI, global military spending hit a record $2.887 trillion in 2025, accounting for 2.5% of global GDP. Over just the past decade, nations have burned through $21.9 trillion on military expenditures. Look at this extreme, immoral disparity. According to UN estimates, completely eradicating global hunger and malnutrition by 2030 would require an annual investment of just $93 billion. That means redirecting a mere 3.22% of the massive funds poured into global war preparations every year could wipe starvation off the face of the earth forever. We are buying death at the cost of life. Nearly 2/3 of the world's hungry population lives in just 10 countries, where armed conflict is the primary driver of starvation. These wars don't just destroy buildings, they obliterate human development, agricultural systems, and the very pulse of survival. Gaza. In just a few months of conflict, the devastation unleashed on Gaza has set its human development back by 77 years. More than 10% of Gaza's entire population has been directly killed or injured. Sudan and Gaza. In 2025, for the first time in UN history, extreme famine was officially declared in 2 different regions, Gaza and Sudan, in the exact same year. Right now, over 750,000 people in refugee camps across Somalia and Sudan are facing famine conditions. Syria. Over 14 long years of war, Syria's economy has shrunk to just 25% of its 2010 level. The UN estimates the economic cost of the Syrian war sits at a staggering $800 billion. Yemen. War in Yemen has pushed human development back by 21 years. If this conflict stretches to 2030, that setback will jump to 39 years, making Yemen the poorest country in the world. When the crisis runs this deep, what are the world's superpowers doing? You would be shocked to see how distorted their policies and priorities truly are. The world's top 3 superpowers, the United States, China, and Russia, alone spent $1.488 trillion on their militaries, making up 51.5% of the global total. Meanwhile, G7 nations burn through $1.2 trillion a year on defense. An Oxfam analysis reveals that saving just 2.9% of this massive G7 budget, about $35.7 billion, could end global hunger and permanently resolve the debt crisis for developing nations. The United States alone spent $11.3 billion in just the first 6 days of the Iran war. Yet spending a mere $6 to $7 billion could feed the 45 million people worldwide at extreme risk of famine for an entire year. The behavior of these nations proves that the global food crisis is not a lack of natural resources. It is entirely man-made and the result of an absolute failure of political will. They can empty their pockets to prepare for war, but when it comes to saving human lives, they claim poverty. So is there no hope? Will humanity simply surrender to weapons of mass destruction? No. The solution is within our grasp. All it requires is the will to act. According to a model by former WFP chief David Beasley, the cost of a daily, life-saving nutritious meal is just 43 cents. To save the 45 million people at extreme risk of death, it would take a mere $7 billion. Based on a combined model by Rome-based UN agencies spending $265 billion annually on rural infrastructure, irrigation systems, and agricultural research, could permanently eradicate poverty and hunger from the globe. If implemented, this would add an extra $276 billion to the global GDP by 2030. Simply put, if we redirect just 3% of the global military budget into an independent global trust fund dedicated to food security and nutrition, the curse of starvation will be wiped off the face of the earth. Every human life is valuable. A child's smile, a person's right to live. These are infinitely more important than any missile or fighter jet. True national security is never found in stockpiling weapons. When over 282 million people are starving and 2.8 billion cannot afford a healthy diet, a $1 trillion arms race is only steering humanity toward annihilation. Global leaders must stop funding preparations for future destruction and adopt policies that finance the protection of human life. We don't need weapons, we need food. We don't need war, we need peace. And instead of destruction, we need human development.
The water is so nice.
History will not forgive us if we knowingly choose the path of destruction. Let us choose bread over bullets. Let us transform the budget for weapons of mass destruction into a budget for life. Because the most beautiful sight on earth is a new life growing up in peace.